People across Egypt are waiting a decision by Minister of Defense Field Marshal Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to run for the upcoming presidential elections after interim President Adli Mansour issued a much-anticipated decree that governs the presidential elections. Legal advisor Ali Awad said on state television that Mansour had issued the decree after reviewing all legal opinions and after the cabinet prepared a draft law. He cited the nature of the transitional period and said it was important to prevent delays for both the presidential and subsequent parliamentary elections, which according to the constitution must be held no later than the second half of July. The Elections Commission will set a date for the vote, expected to be in April. Mansour decreed that the decisions of the Elections Commission be protected from legal challenges. Awad said the legislative selection of the Council of the State, Egypt's top court that deals in litigation involving the state in the country's supreme beyond potential legal challenges. The General Assembly of the Supreme Constitutional Court argued in favor of the protection, saying that although the Constitution stipulates that no legal decisions are above review, clauses in the Charter protect the Commission's decisions from appeal during Egypt's transitional period. Presidential hopeful Hamdin Sabahi claimed that the protection of the Election Commission against complaints would be unconstitutional. The law is passed after a transition plan laid out in July after the ouster of President Morsi. Military Chief Field Marshal Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is widely expected to declare his candidacy soon, and if he runs, he is forecast to win.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, continuing our debate with our dear guests. Now, Engineer Ibrahim, one of the main pillars of the Egyptian economy, and it's always been a strong source of foreign currency, is the tourism sector. Now, the tourism sector has been hardly hit, definitely, since the 2011 revolution, and recently with a lot of the terrorist attacks taking place, even though it was still trying to get back on its feet, it's been knocked out again. Now, how do you see such a problem facing the tourism sector, mainly the security and stability file here in Egypt, being tackled, especially that we're also coming up against very critical presidential elections that will be followed by parliamentarian elections later on? How do you evaluate the government dealing with such an important problem, the security and stability in Egypt, that both affects the economic life here in Egypt as the political one as well?
Well, obviously we have a major problem with terrorism, and what we always say is proof is in the pudding. Mm-hmm. What we have now is that I wouldn't say that we are not able to control it, but we are trying very hard. But it's very, very difficult to really put a clamp on it or just really stop it completely. As long as this unrest is existing, we are going to have a threat to the tourism industry. Mm-hmm. So we really have to think of ways, and I'm not saying, you know, ways of reconciliation or anything like that, but I'm just saying we have to look at certain ways in order for us to secure certain areas for the tourists to be able to come to certain areas. Like, you know, that whatever happened in Sharm el-Sheikh recently or in Hurghada or whatever the case might be, there must be a way that we can control certain areas and give the people the feeling that really they can come in and visit these countries and enjoy its beautiful weather and beaches and all of that stuff, and don't have to worry about security issues. Mm-hmm. We have really a lot of, you know, not a lot, but we have some enemies, okay? So we have internal enemies and external enemies. And everybody is using that as a way to really give Egypt a hard time. Egypt has really been surrounded by a lot of unfriendly fire. Mm-hmm. And I think that once we put the main pillar in place with presidency and parliament and proper government in place and all of that stuff, and we start going into some sort of stability, this is really when you're going to see things are turning around. Till that happen, you know, everything is up in the air, and everybody's trying really to prove a point and things like that. So, and also we need to have a peace with the world in general. As you know, we have problems with the African League, where we have to. They are looking for us to elect another president. We have some problem with the European Union and other states and things like that. So I think when we put those to rest, if there is a free election and somebody is elected, and then we have parliament that is elected also, that will put a lot of things that are hanging over our heads right now. It will put it to rest. Then we can focus on the real main issues that we have. So we really have some time till maybe the end of the year before we see things turning around. As for the tourism, is really the situation now is very difficult, because you're in a situation where if I am the minister of tourism, you don't know really if you are supposed to kind of like call tourism to come to Egypt or not, because it's really a very tricky situation. So again, it is a very, very tough situation. As I said before, nobody envy any of the ministers that are holding, you know, their jobs or doing their jobs right now, because it is a very, very crucial time for Egypt. And I think, again, that the only way that we really start moving ahead is when we have all our building blocks are put together in order for us to go forward, which is like, as I said, presidency and parliament and so on and so forth.
Definitely. Dr. Kharrat, now, before actually talking about the candidates, as a Secretary of the Supreme Council for the Egyptian Democratic Party, how do you view the new electoral law that has been passed by Adli Mansour? Do you see that there is some room for criticism regarding the electoral law, or do you think that this is a good law that would take this stage underway?
We are going to have a Supreme Council meeting on the 22nd of March, so like 10 days from now or so, 11 days from now, and we will decide our position from the electoral law. But in general, most of the party leaders, including Dr. Abul Ghar, our president, the president of the party, have objected to the article of impunity. Dr. Noor Farhat, also one of our major figures, is saying that this article is threatening the whole office by becoming unconstitutional. So trying to put a certain committee in impunity and protect this decision from courts is always a tricky business, and the Egyptian Social Democratic Party has always objected to such moves out of our conviction of the law, of the rule of the judiciary, of the magistrates, the judiciary power in building democracy.
Yes. Well, what about the candidates now? Field Marshal Sisi actually dropped the strongest hint that he will most probably be running for the presidency. We also understand that there's Hamdin Sabahi and former Chief of Staff Sami Anan will also be running. Do you expect more candidates to run? How do you think? Do you think that it's a one-horse race early on, even before they actually submit it? And how do you think the country will be able to tackle the presidential elections, at least from the Security and Stability Fund?
It seems to me that the popularity of Mr. Sisi is still huge on the streets. Mr. Hamdin has announced today that maybe he will not run the race if this electoral law is sustained. I think Mr. Khalid Ali and Mr. Sami Anan will probably run the race too. And within our party ranks, I have to say that the young people are biased to Mr. Hamdin. Many of the young people are biased to Mr. Hamdin. But apart from that, most of our members, particularly in Upper Egypt and in the governor race, Qalyubiyya, Sharqiyya, are very enthusiastic about Mr. Again, I don't think the Supreme Council will take a decision on our next meeting upon who is going to be our candidate. We will have to wait until the law is finally out and the dates are announced and the candidates announce themselves and announce their colors and their programs, and we will take a decision then.
Yes. Well, ladies and gentlemen, still a lot to be focused on over the next few months regarding the presidential elections and the mega projects being launched by the Egyptian government and also by the Egyptian military. By this, we come to the end of this edition of the Daily Debate. Once again, I'd like to thank our very distinguished guest, Engineer Khalid Ibrahim, head of the Exports Council for Engineering Industry. I'd also like to thank Dr. Ihab al-Farrath, the Secretary of the Supreme Council for the Egyptian Democratic Party. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stay tuned for more coming up on Nile International. I'm Hani Saif. Thank you for joining us.